Good morning. Happy Grandparents' Day. We will begin our service with the ringing of the temple bell. Please listen quietly as the sounding of the kanshou is an invitation to settle our hearts and minds as we prepare to receive the Dharma. Thank you.
Namanda, Namanda.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us to honor our grandparents, either in person or via Zoom. A special aloha to our guest speaker, Mr. Pieper Toyama, for getting up early this morning to catch a flight here. I am Glenda Yamagata Pasalakwa, and I will be serving as your MC. For today's Dharma family service, we wish to express our deepest gratitude to all grandmas and grandpas for nurturing our families with such warmth and compassion. You are the family's greatest treasures, and our special love and caring helps to strengthen family bonds. Let's give a round of applause to honor all grandparents. Assisting at the temple with technical support is the Zoom team of Alan Matsumoto, Joey Guzman, and Stephen Kaneko. Corinne Chong is our organist, and Betty Takeoka will lead the singing. Please rise and let us start the service with the Vandana and Tisarana. Please chant both the Pali and English parts together with Reverend Blaine. Those of you on Zoom, be sure you have muted your mics.
Namanda, Vutunamanda, 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 Vutunamanda.
Please remain standing. Dharma School student Taylor Nishihara will now share an aspiration.
I will try to be kind to everything. I will try to help whenever I can. I will try to be patient and not get angry. I will try to do my best work and finish my work. I will try to be calm and careful in whatever I do. I will try to do what helps us all to be happy so we can feel like one family. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Taylor. Now Betty Takeoka will lead us in singing the song Happy Grandparents' Day. You'll find the words on this pink sheet.
Okay, we've done this before, so the melody is like happy birthday, okay? Sing it out loud, because if you don't, we're gonna sing it twice. Okay, ready? Happy Grandparents' Day, Happy Grandparents' Day. Thanks for all the love and care, and for always being there. Happy Grandparents' Day, Happy Grandparents' Day. Gratitude we owe to you. Namo Amida Butsu. Good job, good job. One time is enough. Okay.
Very nice. Thank you, Betty. You may be seated. It is now time for the offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. Please use both incense burners. Let us observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Reverend Blaine will now lead us in chanting Gasho to Amida. Words can be found on the laminated handouts in the back of the pews and on the screen.
Compose hymn that trees and grasses and flowers all grow in great compassion. This light shines throughout the world. Aigasho to Amida. Flowers bloom and flowers fall. From the seed sprout new flowers. This is the truth unchanging. Aigasho to Amida. Springtime brings the happy birds. Their songs all praise Amida. I join them in Nembutsu. Aigasho to Amida. When I call Amida's name, it's Amida calling me. Buddha's voice, my voice are one. Aigasho to Amida. When I'm lonely, I recite Namo Amida Butsu. Then I feel great compassion. Aigasho to Amida. Nembutsu in work and play. Every day with Amida.
Please rise for the singing of the Gatha, Living Gratefully. Words can be found on the handouts and on the screen.
Let's all live in harmony, trying to live as one. All of us together, always, living life with Buddha's love. Hand in hand we move along. Let's all live in peace. Strive to be the best we can, living gratefully. Kindness to every living thing, showing our gratitude, loving all our friends and family, showing thanks for all they do. Hand in hand we move along. Let's all live in peace. Strive to be the best we can, living gratefully.
Thank you, Betty. Please be seated. I'm excited to introduce our guest speaker from Honolulu, Mr. Pieper Toyama. Pieper was born and raised on a sugar plantation on the Hamakua coast of this big island. He graduated from Honoka'a High School, the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and Northeastern University in Boston. His professional experiences include teaching in high schools and at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, and serving as head of Parker School in Kamuela. Within the Hompa Honganji Mission of Hawaii community, Pieper is well known as a founding head of the Pacific Buddhist Academy, or PBA, the first Shin Buddhist high school in the Western Hemisphere, which focuses on peace education. Through his passionate and caring leadership, PBA survived its founding years and has grown into the respected institution it is today. Pieper is now retired and has also served admirably as a past president of the Hompa Honganji Mission of Hawaii. He and his wife Lois are members of Jikoen Honganji Temple in Honolulu, and they currently serve as co-presidents. Most recently, Pieper published a book of family stories entitled Family Stories from the Plantation and Beyond. He also enjoys writing haiku. He has 2 daughters, Malia and Isla, and 4 grandchildren who live in Colorado and Arizona. Please give a warm welcoming aloha to Pieper Toyama.
Good morning. I deeply appreciate this honor of speaking at Kona Honganji. An invitation to speak at a temple is an honor and a privilege that I do not take lightly. So thank you. I'm speaking about grandparenting today in recognition of Grandparents' Day. So I thought I'd start with my parenting and grandparenting status. I've been married for 55 years to Lois, a beautiful haole lady from Massachusetts. We have two hapa haole daughters. Leah, who is 51, is married to Dave Burns of Colorado and has two children, Sydney Akiko and Brady Takeji. Eiley, who is gay and 48 years old, is married to Stacy Milam from Kansas and has two children, Timber Takemi and Aspen Miyoko. This makes my four grandchildren, as Malia likes to call them, Kwapa, Kwapa Haole, or quarter Japanese. Currently, all two daughters and their families live on the mainland. I mentioned that my daughters are Hapa and my grandchildren are Kwapa because my daughters have chosen to keep their connection to their local Japanese heritage alive and well. At the invitation of my daughters, I have been given the role of keeper of the Toyama family traditions and stories. So I tell my grandchildren family stories of their great-grandparents and granduncles and stories of their parents to help them see their place in a larger family picture. I help my daughters and their children follow cultural traditions that were practiced in the Toyama family for years, since I was a kid. I'm proud that my daughters value their children's connection to wider cultural identity beyond their immediate family. Whether my grandchildren keep that connection to Hawaii's local culture and their Japanese ethnicity for another generation is for them to choose. But I treasure my role in keeping that connection alive for now. Now back to Grandparents' Day and my goal for this talk. In honor of this special day, I want to reflect on my journey into grandparenting and my encounter with the smiling Nembutsu. I must begin with a confession that the prospect of becoming a grandparent in 2008, when my first grandchild, Sydney Akiko, was born, was not a big deal to me. I mean, I was happy for Malia and Dave. They were becoming parents. But for me, well, for them it was a big deal, but for me, I really did not have skin in the game. I felt my role as grandparent was going to be more as a glorified babysitter than anything else. I was not in tune with the reality that a person was entering my life and that baby person would grow up and become an adult who would take her place among all other adults, trying to make her corner of the world a happy place. And I was a grandfather to that baby person. All my ego allowed me to see was driving 20 miles from Honolulu all the way out to Kapolei for family events to visit an infant that was little more than a sucking, burping bundle of pink skin. I knew I would be fine with holding her in my arms as long as she was sleeping or cooing or smiling. But I knew the longer I held her, the greater the risk of her crying or pooping. So I was counting on my daughter and Lois to do the heavy lifting whenever we visited. To understand how I came to this shallow view of grandparenting, you need to understand how I parented my own children. My children were born in the mid-70s and grew up in Hilo through the 80s. And parenting during those days was quite different from today. We raised our children like free-range chickens. We let them run out the door after breakfast without knowing where they were going or what they were going to do. They'd hop on their bikes without helmets and pedaled to the end of our dead-end street to explore the gulches and pastures that stretch who knew where. They lived day to day without any adult lording over them. As parents, we ignored their protests and complaints. We were the boss, judge, jury, and that was absolutely non-negotiable. Rules were rules. Discussion was not an option. We trusted that we knew what to do when it came to raising our children. We didn't read books about parenting. Our parenting was all instinct, with some stuff based on how we were raised thrown in. To be sure, we did family things, the picnics, campouts, and hikes, soccer games, and swim meets. So it was not as if we abandoned our kids. We did hang out with them, but we never got into their business as long as they behaved themselves. We supported them in activities they chose for themselves. This was in keeping with raising kids like free-range chickens. That is, we let them choose or not choose, whatever. As a result, we didn't feel compelled to create opportunities or encourage them to any activity we thought was good for them. Except I did make them take kendo, which they hated. If we weren't hovering and worrying over and watching our kids all the time, then what did we pay attention to as parents? First, I want to emphasize that the vast majority of parents in the 70s and 80s were just like us. Free-range parenting was the accepted parenting style of the time. Also, you have to know that we were coping with inflation rates that reached 14% in the 80s and paying mortgage rates of 9% and above on teaching salaries of $20,000 a year. We're paying attention to our professions. We spent time on yard work and volunteer work and political activities and church. Parenting was only a part of who we were and what we did. So this explains how I could look forward to becoming a parent a little bit detached. Plus, I grew up not knowing my two grandfathers. I had no grandfather role models to follow. And as a result, I did not have any sense of grandfatherly obligations. The full realization of how my first grandchild, Sydney, would change my life did not materialize until she grew beyond the bundle of pink skin stage. And it happened slowly. When she began to crawl, I was forced to be involved in childcare. After all, it was not, childcare went beyond changing diapers. I mean, this kid could move around and get into trouble. Lois needed help in watching and corralling her to keep her and the house safe. Plus, she was starting to communicate. That was fun. It's like playing with a puppy. When she started walking, or more like teetering around, I really had to watch her. She touched stuff, opened stuff, banged on stuff, grabbed stuff, looked for stuff. She was curious. She looked for attention. She would become frustrated and angry or happy and laughing. She was becoming a little human being who could draw me into interacting with her. For example, she would bang on the coffee table with her doll and slyly turn to see if I was paying attention. And if I ignored her, she would bang even more fiercely. Yes, she was becoming a crafty, attention-seeking little human being. Now, the best grandparent babysitters are the ones who can anticipate what their grandchildren are going to do before they do it. This is called anticipatory babysitting, as opposed to passive babysitting, and can prevent many a problem from happening. I quickly discovered one of the critical skills in anticipatory babysitting is observation and interpretation of the facial expressions of the child. All through Sydney's toddler age, I became quite good at observing and assessing her facial expressions while she played with herself or interacted with other kids and adults. When she grew beyond the toddler stage, she started to engage in elaborate make-believe scenarios by herself and sometimes involving me. She was very convincing as she played a waitress or a mother or a teacher in her mannerisms and her chatter, but most of all in her facial expressions. Now, watching Sydney went beyond simple babysitting. Watching Sydney was growing to something more. Something was happening. In those tiny moments as I watched Sydney's face as she explored independence and her sense of self, I began to realize that I was in the presence of a child becoming a fully functioning human being. I was seeing a life unfold and grow before my very eyes. I found myself looking with grandparents' eyes, with curiosity about how this little person's life energy was pushing and exploring boundaries, transforming her into a little girl. The images of Sydney's face in her make-believe world kindled an unexpected sense of joy, feelings of pure joy. No intellect, no reasoning intervened. It was simply a welling up of joy that filled my entire being. It was a pure physical experience washing over me as I saw the preciousness of life in her face, her eyes, and expressions that animated her. I recognized I had one of the luxuries of a grandparent, and that is to simply sit and watch my granddaughter just as she is. In elementary school, she dabbled in taekwondo, dancing, and soccer. By then, we could actually have conversations. So on my visits, I found time to talk story with her. I was curious. I wanted to understand what she did at practice, what was going on behind the facial expressions. What was she feeling? What did she enjoy as she engaged in activities I watched? To be sure, her answers mostly were just straightforward, matter-of-fact answers. But once in a while, she would open my eyes by sharing a feeling that revealed something of who she was. From the time she could walk, the most joy I derived from watching her was her love of dance. Though her coordination was not the best, she loved to make up dances as well as copy anything that she saw on TV or at live performances. I loved to sit and watch her twirl and leap and sway to music. She was a happy and graceful dancer as much as a kid can be graceful, and that was enough for me. The thought of dance in her future was never important for me. I was just a grandfather, and my job was to watch and enjoy my granddaughter doing what she loved. I had no sense of responsibility to help make her an excellent dancer. In keeping with the tenets of free-range grandparenting, I had no lofty expectations of her. I was not trying to shape her, to improve her. I was simply there to be with her without judgment, to share her joy in her moments of effort and her moments of happiness. Over time, Sydney's love and growing talent for dance took hold and found durable expression in middle and now high school. She's a member of a dance troupe that practices 4 times a week, all year round, and puts on 2 major productions and many minor performances a year. She's no longer that awkward child I sat and watched dancing in front of the TV. She dances on a proper stage in costumes. And when she leaps and twirls, it brings tears of happiness to me. This is one of the great privileges of grandparenting, to shed tears when we see our grandchildren doing what they love. So this has been my journey into grandparenting. I started as a detached participant who only saw babysitting as my role. Then the realization set in that grandparenting is a very big deal because it afforded me a front seat row, a row in the front seat in watching a life grow and change right before my very eyes. Then I found the joy of watching the face of my granddaughter as she blossomed from a child into a tween. And now I have the gratification of interacting with Sydney as she navigates through life as a teenager, watching her become a young woman and a very talented dancer. Even now, I enjoy small moments when we talk story via text, and on my visits to Colorado to see her just as she is, as she learns to drive, as she works on school projects, and as she dances at practices and performances. And this brings me to the second goal of my presentation, that is sharing a few thoughts on the smiling Nembutsu, which is the best part of being a grandparent. We have all experienced it as grandparents. It comes upon us when precious moments of life fill us with joy, so complete that there is nothing we can do but hear and share the sound of Namo Amidabutsu bursting through our smile. This is the smiling Nembutsu, and it is different from the traditional Nembutsu we are familiar with because it does not begin with a sense of gratitude. To be sure, deep feelings of gratitude eventually follow the sound, but the smiling Nembutsu, first and foremost, is the expression of pure joy in the form of Namo Amidabutsu. And in the expression, and in this expression, joy is made tangible and enters the world. Without effort, the smiling Nembutsu scatters seeds of joy that have the potential of finding their way into experiences of others who may be known or unknown to us. Such is the power of the smiling Nembutsu, and such is a gift we have been given as grandparents. So let us not forget that opportunities for the smiling Nembutsu are abundant in our lives, as long as we give ourselves to curiosity about the life of our grandchildren, as long as we take time to see the faces of our grandchildren. And when we see a precious life touch our life, a smile and the sound of joy come naturally, without thought, without intention, without being summoned, as Namo Amidabutsu. So thank you very much. So before I leave the podium, I would like to share photos of my family and of Sydney Akiko, so you can share in my smiling Namandab moments. Sydney Akiko, Malia Miyoko, Dave and Grady Kakechi, my older daughter. Okay. My second daughter, Timber, Stacy, Eiley, and Aspen Miyoko. Okay. So there's Sydney Akiko was just a bundle of pink skin, just lying on the ground and kicking, and that was it. And then she became a toddler. Namanda, when you look at the face, that's all that I could think of. And from a toddler, she grew into a school age. And as I said, she loved to stand in front of the TV and copy dances. Okay? And this is Sydney today as a dancer in her costumes, and she's a very, very good dancer. And so these are my smiling Nimbutsu moments. So I encourage grandparents, and even if you're not grandparent, smiling Nimbutsu can be part of your life. Okay? But you gotta say it. You gotta say Namo Yabutsu. You gotta say Namanda. You gotta say it out loud. Okay? Out loud. Yes. Okay. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your Grandparents' Day message, Mr. Toyama. Kira Estrada will lead us in unison reading of the Golden Chain of Love. Words can be found on the handouts and on the screen. Please join her in reciting the words out loud.
Golden chain of love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace.
Thank you, Kira. We will now have the offertory presentation by Dharma School student Kendra Nishihara. Mahalo, everyone, for your generosity. Please rise as we will conclude this service with singing of the Gatha Nembutsu.
Namo namanda, 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 namanda.
Please be seated. This concludes today's Grandparents' Day service. Here are some announcements. Upcoming schedule of services, events, and reminders. Next Sunday, September 8th, there will be no Sunday service. Reverend Blaine and several Sangha members will be attending the Hawaii Kyodan Triple Celebration in Oahu. Sunday, September 15th, regular Dharma family service will be held at 10 o'clock a.m. Reverend Blaine will share a Dharma message. Then, from 2 o'clock to 3:30 p.m. that afternoon, you are invited to attend the Advanced Healthcare Directive Workshop. This free community workshop is sponsored by Community First. For more information, please see the attachment in Reverend Blaine's weekly email update. On Sunday, September 22nd, Autumn Ohigan service will be observed at 10 a.m. Special guest speaker will be Bishop Toshiyuki Umitani. A meet and greet fellowship will be held following the service to allow Sangha members to get to know our current bishop. Saturday, September 28th, you are invited to attend a family caregiver resource fair from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Yano Hall. Attendees will receive helpful information on resources available, hospitalization of their loved ones, and levels of care. The event is sponsored by Kona Community Hospital and is free to the public. For more information, please see the flyer attached to Reverend Blaine's weekly email update. Sunday, September 29th, regular Dharma family service will be held at 10 a.m. Reverend Blaine will share a Dharma message. Any other announcements? Reverend Blaine or anyone else? I'd like to introduce Robert Nault to church this morning. Welcome, Robert. Again, thank you, Pieper Toyama, for being our guest speaker. Those of you on Zoom, you may leave at any time. Those of you here in person, refreshments will be served in the conference room. Mahalo to the Dharma School for providing today's tasty treats. Again, to all grandparents, happy Grandparents' Day. Thank you for joining us. Please stay safe, and we hope to see you at future Sunday services.
Thank you. Just one quick announcement. Thank you, Glenda, for sharing about the upcoming community events. So please, there are flyers in the back, so please help yourself for the Advanced Healthcare Directive Workshop that we're hosting here at the temple, and then also for the free Caregivers Workshop and seminar at Yano Hall at the end of the month. This book was written by Gomonchu Kojun Otani, and it's free. And I do have some copies available for anybody who'd like to have one. There's a few in the back, so please help yourself. It's a nice, really easy read and written by our head abbot in Japan. So it was translated. So I also have a Japanese language version if anybody's interested in that. So again, thank you very much to Pieper Toyama for joining us today. It's always good to see Pieper and to hear your words of wisdom and adventures in parenting and grandparenting. It's so important, right, to remind ourselves how important grandparents are to our lives and what a big influence they can be. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my grandparents. And so I always am grateful and honor them for their love and their support and their just nurturing of me. And so value your grandparents, right? Take that time to learn and to share and to be part of that nurturing ohana. And congratulations to Clayton and Nona for becoming new grandparents. So again, thank you very much, everybody.